My dad was abusive. He suffered with drinking excessively. He abused me and my sisters and his other kids, which he had with somebody else. I was 9, but I grew up in like a really toxic household, like shouting, like just like a lot, just really not a good childhood.
My mum and dad used to fight, argue, they would drink, and they would lie. It's also to saying they weren't together, and then it would just keep happening and keep happening. They could get quite violent at times, and then they'd had enough of having to come out, and the police did say to them, "You've got one last chance," but they blew it.
Developmental trauma is a term that we use to describe the experiences of young people who've grown up in frightening, neglectful or abusive circumstances. We know that brain development is shaped through our early experiences and particularly relationships with others, so developmental trauma can impact on young people's cognitive, social and emotional development. In particular, neuroimaging studies have shown that changes to the threat, reward and memory systems in the brain. This affects awareness of threat, hypervigilance to surroundings, motivation, and a reduction in autobiographical memory. That is, our memory of everyday experiences, which we base our day-to-day functioning and responses in new situations on.
It was scary. Like, I was only 4, and it was just like I had to go to these strange people and have a sleepover in a place with people I've never met before. And yeah, it was hard.
My mum kept going out with her friends and she was leaving me in the house by myself. Then eventually a social worker or somebody came round knocking and I never heard them. So after that they went away. The next day I went to school. I got pulled out of one of my lessons and I went to see one of my support teachers and she told us I'm in foster care. I just cried.
At first, when you get first taken away, it can be really nerve-wracking because most people I know were like really nervous moving in.
I was an angry kid. It showed at home. I was kicking off and we had contact twice a week to begin with Mum. And then it just kept getting longer and longer. And so after every contact, I would have a big blowout and it would affect school. And at school, I just wasn't coping. I was a really smart kid. I was top of the class, but it slowly, as I got older, it started falling behind because obviously it's a lot to take in and trying to figure out all these feelings.
My life changed a bit. I started to get bullied. I had ginger hair and that. They found out I was in care. It all went downhill.
Children with trauma can have difficulties controlling emotions, especially as their bodies are flooded with cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Children who struggle with emotional regulation should not be seen as attention-seeking, but attachment-seeking. They may be triggered by sensory memories where sounds, sights or smells can send them into fight, flight or freeze mode, even though they are not aware of the reasons why.
Sometimes friends that aren't in care can talk about really annoy you by saying stuff about you being in care. One of my friends when I was in college, he was really trying to annoy me to get me in trouble in front of this teacher. And then he started talking about why I was in care and that my family didn't love me, so they put me in care. And that really got me started. And then I got kicked out of this school because another person did the same thing. And then that's when I really did end up kicking off.
Being getting 1s and 2s on my tests. Used to be 10s, 12s.
Children who have experienced trauma may struggle with planning ahead, organisation and problem solving. They may appear unable to learn from their mistakes and may struggle to express themselves, including their emotions.
I affected my behaviour because I became more scared to do stuff that I think that could get us in trouble, or if I was I wouldn't do stuff. I wouldn't go on stuff without asking. I wouldn't get a drink without asking and everything, just in case. And I wouldn't go out without asking, just in case I got hit or something. So it made me more shy.
was quite well behaved. I was just that kid that got on with things, didn't complain, was like in the background. And as I got older, I started getting more in trouble. I started hanging around with children I shouldn't have hung around with. I got sent home a lot from school. So it got worse as I tried to make sense of it.
It affected us a lot because I stopped concentrating on lessons and all that. I started being naughty and that. It changed a lot. I am not listening to teachers, walking away from them, getting a lot of detentions and all that. It just went downhill. I was bottling everything up, wouldn't tell no one anything. Because I never tell people anything. Don't trust them.
With good enough parenting in safe environments, children experience positive intersubjective relationships. They develop their emotional regulation through repeated opportunities for co-regulation with a safe adult, and they develop an internal working model of themselves as being lovable, adults as loving and predictable, and the world as a safe place. Where young people have grown up in environments where they're experiencing neglect or abuse, the brain adapts to survive in a threatening or unpredictable world. They miss opportunities for developing regulation skills, they become fearful or rejecting of intersubjective relationships, and they develop internal working models of themselves as bad or unlovable, of adults as frightening or unresponsive, and of the world as a dangerous place.
Children who have not experienced early secure attachments have developed a range of adapted attachment strategies to avoid danger and may have learnt that adults can't be trusted. Without the blueprint of early healthy attachments, they may have difficulties making and maintaining relationships with peers. They may misread the behaviour of others as aggressive and not understand social cues, leaving them feeling threatened and in danger.
I didn't trust anyone. Like, everyone was my enemy. I didn't get along with people like other kids my age because they always seen us as different. And I'm just the strange person who lives with people like who aren't their parents. And it came across as anger towards everyone. I would just kick off. And half of the time I wouldn't even know why I'm kicking off. Someone could look at me the wrong way and I'll be like, nah, kick off.
Ways we can promote trust in schools. Show children and young people that you like them and are interested in them. Be physically and emotionally present. Have systems for meeting and greeting at the beginning of the day. Use check-ins throughout the day. Allocate a key adult to be dedicated to time to build and develop a relationship with the child or the young person. Develop opportunities for connections with peers and the school community, with clubs, responsibilities and active contributions. Teach and model skills to support positive relationships, valuing, encouraging, accepting and empathising.
I don't even know how to explain it. Like, if I'm in a lesson and, like, say I don't really like the lesson, I'll try my best because I know there's consequences that come with my actions. So I try to avoid them, but if my mind just ticks and ticks and ticks because I'm an overthinker and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then I just have a big kick off in school and then I get sent home without anyone even saying, like, nobody really sat us down and said, are you okay? Like, that's, I think, what I find I struggled with a lot. Well, me and my dad do get on really well, but we'll have our bad days together. It's like a love-hate relationship between me and him. And he tends to argue with me quite a lot. Like, it's happened in school before where he started arguing with us and I've just completely blew up. And I just end up walking around the school for hours. And I mean, some days I would do that and no teachers would even stop and question. There's some days we'll just completely ignore it and just go, oh, she's just misbehaving again, without really understanding what's going on.
Schools will see the impact of trauma in various ways. When presented with a child who appears to be unresponsive, uncooperative, aggressive or defiant, then it is only natural to focus on this behaviour. Remember that they are not usually consciously choosing their behaviour. This is their adapted way of dealing with their life and is one that they have learnt over a long period of time. To help the child, school needs to understand the child's trauma language and work out what their behaviour and responses really mean. We tend to punish the behaviour we don't want or reward the behaviour that we do want, but that assumes that the child has control or chooses their behaviour. considering the reasons behind the behaviour and the needs and the history. Zones of regulation support the understanding of emotions and changes in an emotional state. Be aware of your own emotional arousal. Try to avoid having the young person control your emotions. Take a step back and reflect. Refrain disruption as a need for help. Instead of giving warnings, I see you need help with. Reframe attention seeking as attention needing. Structure choices to remain in control. For example, you can finish your work sitting down or standing up. Acknowledge good decisions and choices. I see you made a good choice. You were able to do that. Great. Use emotion coaching training available from Gateshead Psychological Service. Use wandering aloud techniques to help the young person make sense of their behaviour. Empathise with the emotion, not the behaviour. Consequences should be logical, repair of the relationships and damage to property, building in calming practices, grounding activities and visualisations.